Welcome to Rules Reading by Unraveled Game Thoughts. We have Books of Time, a game designed by Philip Glowacz with a solo mode brought by David Tershi, with Michael Seliwiskowski and Kasper Friedrichowitz. This is published by Board and Dice, 1 to 4 players for 14 years and older, with games lasting roughly 45 to 60 minutes. Books of Time. History of humankind has been written down for thousands of years. Our technological achievements, geographical discoveries, and our will to prosper are weaved into intricate threads spread throughout books that tell the story of our time on Earth. Now you have the chance to shape this history. Welcome to Books of Time. Your history awaits as you construct 3 great books building combinations of unique special abilities. Challenge up to 3 of your friends or play solo and tell your own story that will be written and remembered for ages to come. Living Rules Pledge. We pledge to support every game well after its initial release. Despite rigorous playtesting and multiple rounds of both internal and external proofreading and editing, occasionally the need for rules corrections or minor gameplay adjustments is discovered only several months or years after the game was manufactured. We promise to produce timely rules updates as necessary, along with expanded FAQ clarifications if needed, available for download from our website in digital PDF format. Missing or damaged components. Although we take a lot of care to make sure that your game is complete, manufacturing mistakes can still leave you with missing or damaged components. If that happens, please contact us to receive replacements swiftly and with our sincere apologies. Contact support at https://boardanddice.com/customer-support/. Game components. 8 industry cover tiles. 4 front covers, 4 back covers. 8 science cover tiles, 4 front covers, 4 back covers. 8 trade cover tiles, 4 front covers, 4 back covers. 2 chronicle cover tiles, 1 front cover, 1 back cover. 13 binder rings. 5 bookmarks, 1 in each of the 4 player colors, and 1 chronicle bookmark. 24 starting pages, 2 of each type per player. 72 regular pages. 23 chronicle pages. 1 civilization board. 4 player boards. 16 science tokens. 4 player reference cards. 12 industry objective tiles. 12 science objective tiles. 12 trade objective tiles. 8 victory point tokens with 50 victory points printed on one side and 100 victory points printed on the other side. 16 track markers, 4 in each of the 4 player colors. 20 plus file tokens, 40 plus pen tokens, 40 plus paper tokens. 1 chronicle lectern. Then there are pictures of the chronicle lectern assembly with no written instructions on the assembly. Setup. Before your first play, carefully punch out all components from the punch boards. See the assembly guide on page 5 for creating the chronicle lectern. Set up the boards. 1. Set up the boards. Place the civilization board in the center of the table, 1A. Give each player a player board, 1B. and a bookmark in their chosen color, 1C. 2. Create the supply. Place files, paper, and pen tokens, 2A, science tokens, 2B, and a stack of victory point tokens, 2C, within easy reach of all players. 3. Give each player a set of 3 books, 1 industry book, 3A, 1 science book, 3B, and 1 trade book, 3C. See book assembly for details on how to prepare the books before every game, page 8. Any unused books are returned to the game box. Open your books to their first page. 4. Give each player 3 sets of objectives, 1 industry, 4A, 1 science, 4B, and 1 trade, 4C. See objective preparation for details on how to prepare a set of objectives, page 8. Any unused objective tiles are returned to the game box. Set up player markers. Place 1 of each on the player markers at the bottom of the science, 5A, industry, 5B, and trade, 5C tracks. And stack the remaining player markers on the 10 victory point position of the victory point track, 5D. Shuffle all non-starting pages to create a common deck, 6A. Leave space next to the common deck for a discard pile, 6B. Each player receives a reference sheet, 7A, 2 pen and 2 paper tokens, 7B, and draws 6 pages from the common deck. Choose and write one of these pages for free, 7C. Following the rules for Write Pages action, page 13, including the instant benefit, 7D. Next, place another 2 of these pages in the leftmost spaces above your player board, 7E. Discard the remaining 3 pages, 6B. 8. Create the offer. Draw 4 pages and place them in a row next to the common deck. 9. Create the chronicle. Shuffle the chronicle pages and randomly remove 8 of them. Add the remaining pages to the chronicle. See book assembly for details, page 8. Place the chronicle on the lectern and open it on the first page. 10. Select the starting player and proceed to the first turn of the game. Page 8. Book assembly. To assemble any of the books used in the game, take a binder ring, a front and back cover tile of the same color, and the starting pages, or cards, that match the covers. Trade book. Add the 2 starting trade pages, numbered 1 and 2, as depicted in the image below. Science book. Add the 2 starting pages, revealed, numbered 1 and 2, as depicted in the image below. Industry book. Add the 2 starting pages, numbered 1 and 2, as depicted in the image below. The chronicle. Shuffle the remaining 15 chronicle pages and add them to the chronicle as depicted in the image below. Add the chronicle bookmark 3 pages before the end of the book. The bookmark will serve as a reminder that the game is coming to an end. Objective assembly. To identify a set of objective tiles, check the symbol in the back of all the tiles. They should all share the same symbol and the same color. When assembling objective tiles, select a set and place it starting from the largest tile at the bottom as depicted in the image below. Key concepts. Page anatomy. Books. There are 3 types of pages that go into player books: trade, science, and industry. Regardless of type, every page is built using a number of common elements as presented below. You may never through any means add a page of a certain type to a book of a different type. 1. Page color. Indicates its type in the book it can be inserted into. Red for science, green for industry, and yellow for trade. 2. Page symbol. Printed in a large version on the front of each page and in a smaller version on its back, the small symbols are there for ease of reference only. No page may ever have more than 1 symbol. Page ability. The front and back of each page will come with different abilities, although in most cases, the page back ability will be a less potent version of the ability printed on the front of the page. Instant benefit 4. Printed only on the front of the page and serving as a reward for adding a page to your book as well as in some instances of closing the book. Page Anatomy Chronicle. 1. Page Color. Chronicle's pages are brown. 2. Page Ability. The front and the back of each page come with different abilities. Unlike book pages, these are not necessarily connected. 3. Solo Ability. This is used only when playing the game solo. Player Area. Your player area is the space on the table in front of you. 1. Player Board. You may keep for up to 5 pages above it. See available pages on page 10. 2. Open books. Whenever you start or finish a turn, all of your books should be open. 3. Objectives. 4. Resources, paper, pens, and files. 5. Bookmark. 6. Reference sheet. Available pages. Your player board is made of 5 sections. Each section may contain a single page. All of these pages are your available pages. Anytime you are allowed to add a page to one of your books, it must come from your available pages. Whenever you draw or receive a new page, it must be added to the leftmost space of your player board. If there is a page there, it must be moved to the next left to right section, which may in turn cause another page to be moved. Whenever a page is moved away from the rightmost section of your player board, place it in the general discard pile. Your available pages do not move automatically between sections. Unless a new page is added, cards remain in their positions even if some of them are written into your books. See the Right Pages section in the Actions section for more details. Turning a page. Anytime you are required to turn a page, you must flip it to the left in your book. Turning a page may also flip the cover, in which case the book will close. See the Closed Book section on page 14 for more details. Objective tiles. You start the game with 3 stacks of objective tiles, and as the game progresses, you will have opportunities to remove the top tiles of those stacks. At the start of the game, each stack is made of exactly 3 objective tiles. Your trade objective tiles require you to have pages in your trade book in a certain order, so that at the end of the game, you gain victory points. The top tile will require 3 symbols on pages in a specific order. The second and third tile require 4 and 5 symbols respectively. As you remove the tiles, the objective becomes more difficult to fulfill, but it also is worth more victory points. Once you have chosen to remove the top tile, you no longer have the option to go back. Flip the tile to its backside, select one of the depicted benefits, and then remove the tile from the game. You are allowed to have more symbols than required in your trade book, but you must be able to show a sequence of symbols on the following pages that matches the one from the top objective tile to score the points. The objective is still fulfilled if there are other symbols preceding and or following the sequence, but not when there are other symbols between those that are included in the sequence. Your science objective tiles require you to have a certain number of symbols in your science book. One of the symbols is fixed. The second is up to you to define. If a science objective requires you to have 3 symbols of one type and 2 of another type, you meet this requirement regardless of order or presence of other symbols in your science book. Just like with the trade objectives, as you remove the tiles, the objective becomes more difficult to fulfill, but it also becomes worth more victory points. However, you may gain a science symbol of your choice by advancing on the science track of the civilization board. Your industry objective tiles require you to have a number of different symbols in your industry book. You meet the requirement by having the specific number of different symbols regardless of their order. Additionally, the most difficult tile requires you to have additionally one specific symbol on top of all 4 different symbols to meet this requirement. The way the objective tiles are stacked, you can see the current requirements and benefits as well as the requirements and benefits of future tiles. This way, you can make an informed decision to remove the current one and go to a harder objective for potentially more victory points. Advancing your objectives. When you have the option to advance one of your objectives, you remove the current top objective tile of a given stack. There is no option in the game to go back on that choice. Civilization board. The civilization board is made of 3 tracks: science track, industry track, and trade track. Each track is made of a number of spots, including the starting spot. Advancing on a track means moving your marker on that track to the next spot right above the one the player marker is situated in now. After you advance on a track, you have a choice between gaining the depicted benefit or advancing your corresponding objective. There is no option to go down on a track. All benefits from the tracks are described in the appendix. Files are wild. A file may be used as paper or as a pen. Some costs may only be paid with a file. In this case, a different resource may not be used in its place. The back of the file token provides a reminder of this. Anytime a page leaves the offer, immediately draw a new page from the common deck to replace it, so that there are always 4 pages in the offer, plus the card on the top of the common deck. Whenever the common deck is empty, shuffle together thoroughly all the pages from the discard to create a new common deck. In the unlikely case that there are not enough pages left to fully refill the offer, gameplay continues normally, and anytime a page is placed in the discard, it should be immediately moved into the offer. While the offer is incomplete, when taking pages from the offer, players are limited to the number of pages physically present there. Victory points. All players start the game with 10 victory points. Throughout the game, it is possible to activate abilities which require you to lose victory points in order to gain certain benefits. You may only do so as long as your marker does not go below 0 victory points. You may never choose to activate an ability which would cause your marker to drop below 0 victory points. Gameplay. The game is played over a fixed number of rounds. Each round consists of each player's turn and an event phase. During your turn, you must select one of the 6 available actions and perform it. You may use an ability from the 2 options presented by the Chronicle. Then, pass play to the next player. Actions. Activate pages. Choose one of your books and activate the abilities depicted on both visible pages in that book. You may perform them in any order, but you must complete one before starting the second one. These page abilities are not mandatory. You may choose to perform both of them, one of them, or even none of them, although that would bring you no benefit. Some page abilities require you to be able to pay a certain number of resources, pen, paper, file, or victory points, or to have certain pages on your player board. If you do not have the required resources or pages, or if you choose not to pay, you must skip that page ability in its entirety. If you started using a page ability, you must pay the cost. Then you may gain part of or the entire benefit. There is no reason you would choose to forfeit part of the benefit, especially since you have already paid the cost, if applicable. However, this is not expressly prohibited. Some page abilities may allow you to add a page into one of your books. In this case, you must add a page into a different book than the one you have selected to activate pages. After you activate pages in a book, you must turn the page in that book once you have resolved the activation. This may result in the book closing, in which case you immediately resolve all of its effects as if you used a closed book action, receiving all of the bottom benefits from all pages in the closed book. Write pages. To write a page, choose an available page from one of the sections of your player board. Pay the depicted cost and place it in its corresponding book, placing it on top of the right-hand side of the book. The type of page must match the book type. Example, a trade page may only be placed in your trade book. Then immediately gain the instant benefit depicted at the bottom of that page. You are allowed to write as many pages as you want using this action. Simply repeat the above procedure in its entirety, first paying the resources needed to write a page, and then receiving possible gains from writing it. You may write these pages in the same book or multiple books. Any resources you gain by writing pages you receive immediately, so you may use them during the same action. After you write a page, do not move any of your available pages. This movement may still happen, but only if you add new pages to the available ones. Before your first turn, you will write your first page in one of your books. In this special case, you will pay no costs. Just receive possible benefits from writing the page. Otherwise, the procedure remains unchanged, but you may not immediately repeat it. You may never, through any means, add a page of a certain type to a book of a different type. Close books. You may close any one of your open books before you have reached its end. In this case, you only gain the benefits depicted at the bottom of pages, the same ones you received when writing a page, to the left of your current page. Then close the book and open it again at its first page. When gaining the benefits, you may select the order you receive them in. When closing a book, you may use your bookmark to help you with counting your benefits. A book also closes automatically when you turn its back cover. If this happens, you simply receive all the immediate benefits depicted at the bottom of its pages, and then open it again at its first page. Draw. Choose exactly 2 pages from the offer or the top of the common deck. Add them one by one to your player board, moving any pages already there to the right when needed. If a card is pushed from the rightmost position of your player board, it is discarded. Immediately after drawing each of the pages, replenish the offer if needed. As a free action, before selecting pages, you may pay 2 victory points to put any of the pages currently in the offer into the discard pile, and then replenish the offer. Advance. Pay to advance your marker on one of the 3 tracks. The cost is shown to the right of the spot where you are advancing to. After your marker has advanced, you must choose one option. Gain the benefit depicted in the spot to which you advanced, accept the benefit in the top spot of each track, which is awarded at the end of the game, or advance your corresponding objective. In this case, ignore the benefit. Benefits range from gaining resources to gaining victory points based on set conditions. Details can be found in the appendix on page 24. You are allowed to advance multiple times using this action. Simply repeat the above procedure in its entirety, first paying the resources needed to advance, and then selecting one of the 2 options. You may advance on any number of tracks, any number of times, as long as you are able to pay the costs. When you advance to the top spot of a track, you may not choose to advance the corresponding objective, as this is an award at the end of the game which you cannot forfeit. After reaching the top of a track, with further advancements, you gain exactly one of the following: 1 victory point, 1 pen, or 1 paper. Turn pages. Select up to 3 of your books and turn the page in any of them. After turning pages, gain the instant benefit of the current page of each of your books. Pages can only ever be turned from the right position to the left as if you were reading a book. The Chronicle Events. Before or after taking your action, but not in the middle of it, you may choose up to one of the two events visible in the chronicle and resolve it. You are allowed to simply pass on using any of the abilities. The event phase. If you are the last player, after you finish your turn, make sure to turn the page of the chronicle to reveal a new set of usable events. If this closes the chronicle, see the next section. The event phase is only performed by the last player. In other words, in a 3-player game, the event phase happens every 3-player turns. End of the game and final scoring. When the chronicle has been closed, the game is immediately over and additional victory points are scored. Final scoring. Each player evaluates their 3 objective tiles atop each of their stacks and gains victory points accordingly. If the top objective tile of any type is unfulfilled, you do not have the correct symbols, you receive 0 victory points for that objective. Then each player with a player marker on the topmost position of a track on the civilization board scores 2 victory points per page, excluding covers, in their corresponding book. Finally, each player gains 1 victory point for every 5 leftover resources, paper plus pen plus file, in their player area. The player with the most victory points is the winner. In the case of a tie, the player with the most remaining files is the winner. In the case of a further tie, players share the victory. Pages description. Science. Archimedes of Syracuse. A Greek mathematician, physicist, engineer, astronomer, and inventor. Considered to be the greatest mathematician of ancient times and one of the greatest of all time, Archimedes anticipated modern calculus and analysis. He also invented a device with a revolving screw-shaped blade inside a cylinder, now called Archimedes' screw. It could be used to transfer water from a low-lying body of water into irrigation canals and is still in use today for pumping liquids and granulated solids such as coal and grain. Pythagoras. Ancient Greek philosopher and mathematician. He was credited with many mathematical and scientific discoveries, including the Pythagorean theorem and the sphericity of the earth. Pythagorean theorem states that the area of the square, whose side is the side opposite the right angle, is equal to the sum of the areas of the squares on the other 2 sides, which can be written as an equation a2 plus b2, or a to the power of 2 plus b to the power of 2 equals c to the power of 2. Ernest Everett Just. A pioneering African-American biologist and academic. Just's primary legacy is his recognition of the fundamental role of the cell surface in the development of organisms. Just's many experiments with marine invertebrates showed that the egg surface or ectoplasm plays an important role in the fertilization and development of eggs. Rosalind Franklin. An English chemist and X-ray crystallographer whose work was central to the understanding of the molecular structures of DNA, RNA, viruses, coal, and graphite. Although her works on coal and viruses were appreciated in her lifetime, her contributions to the discovery of the structure of DNA were largely unrecognized during her life. Franklin was never nominated for a Nobel Prize, although her work played a crucial role in the discovery of DNA structure, which, along with the subsequent related work, led to Francis Crick, James Watson, and Maurice Wilkins being awarded a Nobel Prize in 1962, 4 years after her death. Maria Zerova. A Ukrainian biologist and taxonomist known for her work in mycology, the branch of biology concerned with the study of fungi. She identified over 400 species of fungi, some new to science, on 160 plant species. She made a major contribution to the multi-volume books of The Determination of Mushrooms of Ukraine, published between 1967 and 1979. Her collection of 12,000 specimens of fungi and plants is now held in the National Herbarium of Ukraine. Jane Cook Wright. A pioneering cancer researcher and surgeon noted for her contributions to chemotherapy. In particular, Wright is credited with developing the technique of using human tissue culture rather than laboratory mice to test the effects of potential drugs on cancer cells. She also pioneered the use of the drug methotrexate to treat breast cancer and skin cancer. Wright was appointed Associate Dean and head of the Cancer Chemotherapy Department at the New York Medical College of 1967. Apparently, the highest-ranked African-American physician at the prominent medical college at the time, and certainly the highest-ranked African-American woman's physician. Marie Maynard Daly. An American biochemist, she was the first African-American woman in the United States to earn a Ph.D. in chemistry, awarded by Columbia University in 1947. Daly made important contributions in 4 areas of research: the chemistry of histones, protein synthesis, the relationships between cholesterol and hypertension, and creatine's uptake by muscle cells. Esther Pak, Kim Jeom-dong. A Korean physician, she was the first Korean woman to practice Western medicine in the country. In 1900, Park graduated from the Women's Medical College of Baltimore as the first Korean woman to earn a medical degree in the United States. After obtaining her degree, Pak returned to Korea and settled in the first female hospital in the country. She also traveled all around Korea, including during the cholera epidemic, helping patients free of charge. Albert Einstein, a German-born theoretical physicist, widely acknowledged to be one of the greatest and most influential physicists of all time. Einstein is best known for developing the theory of relativity, but he also made important contributions to the development of the theory of quantum mechanics. Both are together the 2 pillars of modern physics. His mass-energy equivalence formula, E equals mc squared, which arises from relativity theory, has been dubbed the world's most famous equation. He received the 1921 Nobel Prize in Physics for the services to theoretical physics. Nicholas Copernicus. Miloaj Kopernik. A Renaissance polymath, active as a mathematician, astronomer, and Catholic canon, who formulated a model of the universe that placed the sun rather than the earth at its center. The publication of Copernicus's model in his book De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, on the revolution of the celestial spheres, just before his death in 1543, was a major event in the history of science, triggering the Copernican revolution and making a pioneering contribution to the scientific revolution. Caroline Herschel, a German astronomer whose most significant contributions to astronomy were the discoveries of several comets, including the periodic comet 35P Herschel-Rigollet. She was the younger sister of astronomer William Herschel, with whom she worked throughout her career. She was the first woman to receive a salary as a scientist and the first woman in England to hold a governmental position. She was also the first woman to publish scientific findings in the Philosophical Transitions of the Royal Society, to be awarded a gold medal of the Royal Astronomical Society in 1828, and to be named as honorary member of the Royal Astronomical Society in 1835 with Mary Somerville. Marie Sklodowska-Curie, a Polish scientist and chemist who conducted pioneering research on radioactivity. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the first person and the only woman to win the Nobel Prize twice, and the only person to win the Nobel Prize in 2 scientific fields. Her husband, Pierre Curie, was a co-winner on her first Nobel Prize, making them the first ever married couple to win the Nobel Prize and launching the Curie family legacy of 5 Nobel Prizes. George Washington Carver, an American agricultural scientist and inventor who promoted alternative crops to cotton and methods to prevent soil depletion. He was the most prominent black scientist of the early 20th century. Apart from his work to improve the lives of farmers, Carver was also a leader in promoting environmentalism. In an era of high racial polarization, his fame reached beyond the black community. In 1941, Time magazine dubbed Carver a black Leonardo da Vinci. Augusta Ada King, Countess of Lovelace. The only legitimate child of poet Lord Byron and the mathematician Lady Byron. She was an English mathematician and writer chiefly known for her work on Charles Babbage's proposed mechanical general-purpose computer, the analytical engine. She was the first to recognize that the machine had applications beyond pure calculation, and to have published the first algorithm intended to be carried out by such a machine. As a result, she is often regarded as the first computer programmer. Industry. Domestication of horses. Horses were first domesticated 6,000 years ago in the western part of the Eurasian steppe, modern-day Ukraine and western Kazakhstan. The date of 4000 BCE is based on evidence that includes the appearance of dental pathologies associated with biting, changes in butchering practices, changes in human economics and settlement patterns, the depiction of horses as symbols of power and artifacts, and the appearance of horse bones in human graves. The wheel. The place and time of the invention of the wheel remains unclear because the oldest hints do not guarantee existence of real wheeled transport. The invention of the solid wooden disc wheel falls into the late Neolithic and may not be seen in conjunction with other technological advances that gave rise to the early Bronze Age. The oldest indirect evidence of wheeled movement was found in the form of miniature clay wheels north of the Black Sea before 4000 BCE. Early wheels were simple wooden discs with a hole for the axle. The spoked wheel was invented more recently, around 2000 BCE, and allocated the construction of lighter and swifter vehicles. Rather, allowed the construction of lighter and swifter vehicles. Jazz music. Music genre that originated in the African American communities of New Orleans, Louisiana in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Jazz is difficult to define because it encompasses a wide range of music spanning a period of over 100 years, from ragtime to the rock-infused fusion, although one of its defining elements is improvisation. Color television. The basic idea of using 3 monochrome images to produce a color image had been experimented with almost as soon as black and white televisions had first been built. The first network broadcast to go out over the air in NTSC color was a performance of the opera Carmen on October 31, 1953. Television broadcasting stations and networks in most parts of the world upgraded from black and white to color transmission between the 1960s and the 1980s. Chocolate. Chocolate has been prepared as a drink for nearly all of its history. On the Pacific coast of Chiapas, Mexico, a Moquaya archaeological site provides evidence of cacao beverages dating even earlier than 1900 BCE. In the early 19th century, Dutch chemist Conrad von Houten created a press to remove about half of the natural fat, cocoa butter, from the chocolate liquor, which made chocolate both cheaper to produce and more consistent in quality. This innovation introduced the modern era of chocolate, as this machine pressed chocolate was instrumental in the transformation of chocolate into its solid form. Telegraph. An electrical telegraph was a point-to-point text messaging system used from the 1840s until the late 20th century. There were many different electrical telegraph systems invented, but the ones that became widespread fit into 2 broad categories: needle telegraphs, in which a needle pointer is made to move electronically with an electric current from a battery passing down the telegraph line, and armature systems, in which the current activates a telegraph sounder which makes a click, Morse system. Printing press. In Germany around 1440, goldsmith Johannes Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press, which started the printing revolution. Modeled in the design of existing screw presses, a single Renaissance movable type printing press could produce up to 3,600 pages per workday, compared to 40 by hand printing and a few by hand copying. The arrival of mechanical movable type printing in Europe introduced the era of mass communication, which permanently altered the structure of society. Paper currency. Paper currency first developed in Tang Dynasty in China during the 7th century, although true paper money did not appear until the 11th century during the Song Dynasty. European explorers like Marco Polo introduced the concept in Europe during the 13th century. Napoleon issued paper banknotes in the early 1800s. Compass. A device that shows the cardinal directions used for navigation and geographic orientation. The magnetic compass was first invented by a device for divination as early as the Chinese Han Dynasty, since 206 BCE, and later adopted for navigation by the Chinese Song Dynasty during the 11th century. The first usage of a compass recorded in Western Europe and the Islamic world occurred around 1190. Steam engine. The first full-scale working railway steam locomotive was built by Richard Trevithick in the United Kingdom on the 21st of February 1804. The world's first railway journey took place as Trevithick's unnamed steam locomotive hauled a train along the tramway in South Wales. In 1825, George Stephenson built the locomotion for the Stockton and Darlington Railway. This was the first public steam railway in the world. Steam locomotives continued to be manufactured until the late 20th century in places such as China and the former East Germany. Airplane. The Wright brothers invented and flew the first airplane in 1903, recognized as the first sustained and controlled heavier-than-air-powered flight. They built on the works of George Cayley dating from 1799, when he set forth the concept of the modern airplane, and the work of German pioneer of human aviation Otto Lilienthal. Only a decade later, at the start of World War II, heavier-than-air-powered aircraft had become practical for reconnaissance, artillery spotting, and even attacks against ground positions. Water wheel. The earliest water wheel, working like a lever, was described by Zhuangzi around 476 to 221 BCE. According to him, the water wheel was invented by Zigong, a disciple of Confucius in the 5th century BCE. By at least the 1st century CE, the Chinese of the Eastern Han Dynasty were using water wheels to crush grain in mills and power the piston bellows and forging iron into cast iron. The ancient Greeks invented the water wheel independently between the 3rd and 1st century BCE and used it in nearly all of the forms and functions described above, including its application for water milling. Magnifying lens, telescope. An optical instrument using lenses, curved mirrors, or a combination of both to observe distant objects. The first known practical telescopes were refracting telescopes with glass lenses and were invented in the Netherlands at the beginning of the 17th century. They were used for both terrestrial applications and astronomy. The actual inventor is unknown, but the word of it spread through Europe. Galileo heard about it and in 1609 built his own version and made his telescope observations of celestial objects. Refrigerator. Before the invention of the modern electric refrigerator, ice houses and ice boxes were used to provide cool storage for most of the year. The history of artificial refrigeration began when the Scottish professor William Cullen designed a small refrigerating machine in 1755. In 1820, the British scientist Michael Faraday liquefied ammonia and other gases by using high pressures and low temperatures. And in 1834, Jacob Perkins built the first working vapor compression refrigeration system. It was a closed-cycle device that could operate continuously. Scribbles, solo mode. Components, 4 challenge tokens. Setup. Regular game setup with only one player set. There are 2 additional steps. 9.1. Pick 3 challenges from the challenge board, page 23. 1 challenge from each column. Each challenge must be from a different tier than the others. Mark picked challenges with challenge tokens on the correct side. 9.2. Choose the difficulty level. Easy. Shuffle Chronicle pages and randomly remove 7 of them. Fulfill at least one of the challenges and score 100 points. Medium. Shuffle Chronicle pages and randomly remove 8 of them. Fulfill at least one of the challenges and score 110 points. Hard. Shuffle Chronicle pages and randomly remove 8 of them. Choose one additional challenge from any column. It must be from a different tier than the other challenge from the same column. Fulfill at least 2 of the challenges and score 120 points. After choosing the difficulty level, add the remaining pages to the Chronicle. See Book Assembly for details, page 8. Place the Chronicle on the lectern. Place the Chronicle bookmark 3 pages from the end of the Chronicle and leave the Chronicle closed for now. 10.1. Scribbles will start the game by taking the marked cards from the offer. Gameplay. You will play your turns as per the normal rules. In the event phase, when you flip a new Chronicle page, Scribbles will remove cards as shown on the bottom of the newly revealed right-hand page. Resolve the icons on the card from left to right until all the cards shown are removed, 0 to 3 cards. These cards do not go back into the discard pile. Scribbles takes them away so they will not come back later during the game. Also, some of the challenges require that the player counts certain types of cards. Simply put those cards on the side and keep track of how many of them Scribbles took. Offer is refilled only after Scribbles takes all of the applicable cards. If there is a specific symbol that Scribbles wants to take and there are more cards with it on the offer, Scribbles will always take the leftmost card showing that symbol. You can stop Scribbles from taking cards by spending 1 file token per card you want to be left in the offer. When you fulfill one of the challenges during the game, flip the corresponding challenge token on the challenge board. The game ends when the Chronicle closes. Proceed to the final scoring according to the normal rules. Additionally, check the challenge board. For every challenge you did not fulfill, subtract 15 points from your score. You have to fulfill the difficulty level requirements to win the game, have a certain number of points, and fulfill at least one of the objectives that you chose during the setup. You lose if even one of those requirements is not met, or if you chose a Tier 3 challenge with an instant lose condition that was met during the game. Credits. Game design, Philip Glowacz. Solo mode design, David Tershi, Michael Sielikowski, Kasper Friedrichowitz. Game development by Andrei Novak, Blazek Kubacki, Boris Bielas, Kasper Friedrichowitz, Michael Sielikowski. Illustrations by Alexander Zawada. Graphic design by Zbigniew Umgelter. Rulebook by Blaz Kubacki. Card notes by Kasper Friedrichowitz. Rulebook DTP by Zuzana Kolakowska. Zbigniew Umgelter. Cultural consultants are Family Play Games. Board and Dice would like to thank the following for their invaluable playtesting, advice, and feedback: Lukacs Stadnik, Paul Wupsis, Gaja Bardrek Bajda, Dominik Vik Panzik, Iona Jaworska, Mira Joswick, Marcin Jahorowitz, Adam Foland, Przemysław Kapika, Damian Erafor Adamczak, Marcin Bergio, Anita Sokolowaska, Emil Pakolowski, Philip Loba, Jakub Kisala, Julia Guaza, Patrick Olbert, Robert Deninis, Sebastian Borowiczik, Yuri Ivanov, Klidinia Mikolazik, Adam Kameninski, Victoria Mateja, Krzysztof Wadira, Marta Spaderzaka, Alexandra Wiatar, and David Digby. Board and Dice CEO, Andrea Novak, Operations Manager, Alexandra Menio, Head of Marketing, Alexandra Skladowska Mikalak, Head of Sales, Irene Huzka, Art Direction by Philip Glowatz, Head of Development, Kuba Pokalski. 2022 to 2023 Board and Dice, all rights reserved. For more information about the Books of Time, please visit www.boardanddice.com. Thank you for enjoying this rules reading, and have a great evening.